All right, so here we go. I don't know if I'll keep doing Substacks from my car, but today I just decided to do it. So unfortunately, unless I'm stopping at a stop sign like I just did, I'm not going to be really looking at people or looking at the camera while I'm talking. But I decided I wanted to get up here and share something that's kind of at the top of my mind right now. A couple days ago, someone said to me that now that I'm around more people who think open-mindedly and have a more expanded way of viewing spirituality, that I was gonna probably start remembering things, that I used to think when I was a kid. And I had this strange feeling come over me when they said that. I actually got an instant headache and, started feeling sick. And I thought that was strange that I would have that kind of physical response. I'm at a stop sign, stoplight now. As I talked to my wife about it, I started thinking why that might be. Why did I start getting sick about it? And I realized that what it brought up for me was memories of my family and other people trying to shut down parts of who I was and how I engaged the world as a child. Um, but there's a few things about the way I engage the world that I'm really starting to look forward to engaging the world in this way again. One of the things I said in a video a couple days ago was that for a long time, I could not experience what people call separation, like the division between people. I legitimately felt this sense as if I were one with all of life. Like I just felt that, like, whatever it was that made me alive, I had this intimate awareness that the same thing made everyone else alive. And sometimes when I saw people being mean or unjust or something like that, it wasn't about how they treated me. It pained me to see other people harming their souls. I don't know why I felt that way, but I did. If I saw somebody doing something unjust, or even when somebody was acting rude to me or harmful to me, or in my relationships when people were projecting or taking stuff out on me, I never felt defensive like I needed to protect myself. I felt like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you doing this to your soul? And I feel the same way about people today, but I got to a point where I started being like, I don't want to be one with these suckers. So then I started, kind of projecting that separate idea, that idea of separation. But recently, I've really kind of reconnected with that awareness that I'm connected to the same thing that makes everyone alive, even the people I'm not cool with. In this experience, I'm intimately aware of the fact that we're interconnected, and that to Thich Nhat Hanh, the way Thich Nhat Hanh said is there's interbeing. I'm totally aware of that, and it has um, kind of inspired how I show up in the world. Very often, I have tried to be reasonable or reconnect people or see things from other people's perspectives. And because of that innate understanding of oneness, even in the tension of not liking the way some people show up in the world. But something else that I realized was I had a hard time experience the sense of time. Like I could sit in the same spot for 4, 5, 6 hours and feel nothing. I think I developed that capacity because my brother was sick when I was little, and my mom used to take me into the children's hospital, but I couldn't go into my brother's room. So a lot of times my mom would just leave me in the hospital, and she would just leave me in the waiting room and just tell me, "Hey, Pedro, sit here and don't talk to anybody. And if anybody asks you where I am, just don't say anything because if I get busted for leaving you here, then Child Protective Services might take you. So you don't want that to happen, do you? So just don't talk to anybody and just sit here and be quiet." And so I used to sit there for extended periods of time, just being quiet, just sitting still, just staring. Later, I realized that it was some form of meditation that I just adapted to, but I didn't know the word meditation yet. It was just sitting. And I used to look forward to getting out of school and just sitting in a chair for hours with nothing to do, no one to talk to, and just sit there. And I did the same thing when I was an adult until I got married, and then I had somebody in the house all the time, which I wasn't exactly thrilled with. But I used to just sit there and just be. And that was a very essential part of how I showed up in the world. I didn't listen to music in the car when I was single before I met my wife now. I didn't have the internet in my house. I didn't have television. I didn't have anything. All I did was go to work, come home, read, and meditate for the most part. And then I would go read poetry at poetry readings and stuff. But I was just like a person. I tried to cultivate an inner quietness and an inner stillness that I could take with me everywhere, that I showed up. And that shaped how I saw the world for a long time. Uh, the downside of that, if you can call it that, is I showed up as being a weirdo to a lot of other people because that cultivation of inner stillness and silence wasn't valued. It is what it is. But what I want to talk about right now is that stillness and that timelessness that is also a part of who we all are. And we lose a sense of that when we start engaging in systems and cultures and things that tell us we have to earn and we have to earn our time and all these other things that have really confused who we are and make us miss out on the essence of who we are. And so, hi, John. Hey, and Mark. So basically, what I was reminded of this morning is I had to deal with a customer service situation. And I could feel myself starting to be frustrated with it because I thought it was going to be something that took like a couple minutes, but it actually took more than an hour. And I could feel myself being like, wow, this is a waste of time. But then as I started to think that idea of it being a waste of time, I remember what that lady said that I would start remembering things from how I saw the world when I was younger, and now that I'm around more kind of open-minded spiritual people. And so I started asking myself, where does this idea of waste of time come from? And then, it's easy to kind of track where that come from because we commoditize everything. And the biggest commodity we have in this world right now is this illusion of time. And then we also monetize everything. So we say time is money. So then there's this unconscious kind of idea that if you're spending time doing something that doesn't earn money or isn't being filled with pleasure, then somehow you're wasting time. And so I started telling myself, don't think of this as a waste of time. Think of it as this is the experience you're having, and it just takes the amount of time that it takes. And then I could feel my ego or whatever you want to call it being in resistant to that. Like, no, this shouldn't take this long. This shouldn't this. But it didn't matter if it should or shouldn't in my mind. That's how long it was taking. And so I had to start to ask myself, you know, what makes us so um I don't know what the word would be, operating from a place of lack when it comes to time. And, ultimately it comes down to, I would say, the fear of death, the ultimate loss of time. And that on a subconscious level, we are constantly assaulted by this fear that then makes everything feel like our time has to be well spent, so to speak. And then I asked myself a question: what if I experience myself as an eternal being? Would an eternal being be concerned with being on the phone with customer service for an hour or an hour and 10 minutes? Or would it just be that that's what they were doing in that moment? And the answer that my mind came up with was that I would just be present with it. I would just be cool with it. I would be curious about it. I'd be in wonder. And so I brought myself by some miracle back to that space and started to be in a state of wonder. So I started being like, oh, I wonder how long this is going to take. And then in that state of wonder, it just took the time that it took. And I started wondering about the person who was on the other side of this customer service call, because there's no other circumstance that would have brought the two of us together except for the inconvenience of this thing that I was on the call for, which was basically trying to get paid because I had to overdue, not me, but somebody who was paying me was 14 days overdue on paying me. And so I was trying to figure out why that wasn't going through. And all the different relationships and all the different things that had to come into play both the things that I would have desired and the things that I didn't desire. All of those things had to come in play in order for me to be on the call with this person. That was our interconnection, our interbeing. And so I decided that I would make the most of that time on that customer service call. And so I relaxed into it and just hung out with it. And as I did that, I realized that whatever threat that my ego was feeling because it was taking a while was just an illusion. It was just something that we make up. And that can be said for a lot of things. There's a lot of things in our lives that take up our energy and our consciousness, and it's all based in this fear of loss and experiencing ourselves as a finite being with finite resources and finite this and finite that. And it really shapes the way you see the world. And in this season of my life, I want to get back to that child mind that I came into the world with, where I felt connected to everyone and I wasn't concerned with time and I was able to be present and I was able to cultivate an inner stillness and to make that my priority. Because I remember that when I did make that my priority, life was a lot more magical. So, my invitation to you all is to make the most of your time. So, that's what I decided to do on this drive to the grocery store, to make the most of my time with you and whoever sees this, and to just be in wonder together. So if you get something out of this, feel free to like it, share it, whatever the case may be. I am on a mission, if you will, to create new things with people who are open hearted and open minded and who want to live from possibility. We already know what doesn't work, we do a shitload of it. So if you're done doing what doesn't work and you want to experience yourself more fully, you want to experience others more fully, you want to remember who you came into the world as. I'm on that journey. I'm inviting you to join me and connect with other people, because I think that there's a lot of amazing things we can do when we create from a place of fullness, when we create from a place of infinitude, when we create from a place of knowing that we're loved, that we're belong, that we're not as threatened as we think we are. Because a lot of the crazy things that we see happening in this world is fearful people afraid of loss and then thinking other people are threats. And I'm choosing to eliminate that from my life, to not spend time, if I can help it, with people who operate that way, and to create more community and spaces with people who can see promise in this world, because all of it exists. We have choice. We can be people. Einstein said you can live as if everything's a miracle, or if nothing is a miracle. I'm gonna choose to live as if everything is a miracle. I'm gonna hang out with other miracle makers, and we're gonna have a good time. So that's the shift I'm making. That's the invitation to those of you who are up here, Mark, John, and I think one other person. And if you, like I said, share this with other people. Let's have more conversations like this. I'm probably going to do more videos. Um, Still going to do some writing, and I am going to soon share the introduction to this book that I'm writing called Words That Have Never Been Spoken. So I'll be sharing that. That's going to be for folks who choose to be paid subscribers. Um, Mostly because I gotta have some kind of boundary if people don't like it, and I don't feel like listening to it, something like that. But so I'm gonna share some things, and some of it might be very much out of the box, because the truth is I've had a lot of weird experiences in my life, and I stopped talking about them because I wasn't encountering other people who had those kinds of experiences. So I learned to shut up about it. But this world is a lot more magical than we think. Like some people might know, I ran into Oprah Winfrey in a alley in Japan after writing about Oprah Winfrey on my plane to Japan. That is a magical moment. uh, I didn't cause it per se, but it happened. And things like that, I think, happen all the time when we live from a place of openness. And so I'm just trying to share that with more folks, and hear from more folks who are interested in exploring the magic of this world. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, I know it was cool. I don't know if you've seen my past postmark, but it was. I got pictures to prove it. I met three people, four people, if you include Gail King, who was an amazing light being, or whatever you want to call her. She was radiant as a mug. I can't even explain the radiance I felt from Gail King. But I met Lashana Lynch, who I wanted to play my mom in a movie. I met Oprah Winfrey, who I wanted to produce the movie, and met Ava DuVernay, all in Japan, while on the plane trip writing a script proposal for a movie starring Lashana Lynch, directed by Ava DuVernay, and produced by Oprah Winfrey. And I met all of them in a 10-day window in Japan. That's crazy. But anyway, enough of that. I got more stories of crazy situations like that I'm gonna start telling people, because some people think I was full of crap when I would say that these kind of things happen to me, but I wasn't. I'm not. And yeah. So anyway, peace, love y'all, and be well.